Welcome back, everybody. This is Morning Live. Now, many South Africans are still baffled by KPMG's revelations in Parliament last week. Addressing the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, the audit firm admitted that it had actually given lucrative packages to its top executives who had resigned recently, and the company is in hot water over its Gupta dealings. Now, experts say the phenomenon of golden handshakes is becoming a very common occurrence in the labour spectrum. And to discuss this further, we are now joined by TJ van der Merwe, a labour law specialist at COFESA. A very good morning to you, TJ. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Simpui. Thank you for having me. Good morning, South Africa.
Indeed.
So I just want to quickly say COFESA is the Confederation of Employee Associations in Southern Africa.
Okay.
And we serve our members in the 1990s with all labour-related matters.
Right.
And indeed, we are very concerned about what is happening. Especially, you know, certain professions need to be professional.
Sure.
You know,
thanks for that clarification. Now, one would have thought that with all the wars that KPMG is currently facing, the best option would be pay their executives off. Were you surprised on this?
I was totally surprised. I got the text quite late. I wasn't aware of it, and I waited until it got clarified. And it's absolutely nowhere in the Labour Relations Act it states that one should or must give packages. And it came out in the SCOPA, you know, that they went to SCOPA, and it was also quite amazing that a private entity would go to SCOPA. And what came out here is that what is so scary is that they said it was retrenchment packages. So now they're retrenching the people. Now, you cannot retrench people. There's got to be operational requirements. There's got to be followed by Section 189. So if you retrench people now, the problem that we're faced with is, what are they going to do next now? How are they going to follow due process? Who signed off, and how are they going to bring that people to book?
Yeah. Now, what does the law say when it comes to, the misconduct of an employee that can be regarded as criminal?
Only in certain, as I said, only in certain of the professions. For example, the health profession, nurses, under the Older Persons Act. If nurses commit a malpractice or anything like that, they have to be reported. Lawyers, and I'm sure in the financial side as well, there has to be a report. But everybody, Mr. Simpui, everybody's got a moral obligation to report wrongdoing and crime. You know, you cannot reward wrongdoing, not at all. But we also have to, you know, understand that in law, everybody under the law is innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
So there's no guilt yet on the top people.
Yeah. Now, is it correct to assume that the reasoning for the issuing of golden handshakes is the avoidance of litigation costs and reputational damage on the part of on both parties?
You know, on the small side, we've got a lot of small members. You know, after we have gone through the process of discipline, then I always say to them, you must follow this up criminally. But the small people don't have the time to do that. They can't be out. But the bigger people, you cannot shy away from your responsibilities, and you have to act upon it. There is lots of acts that says that there has to be acted, has to be reported, especially theft, fraud, or anything like that.
Now, TJ, it beats me why companies always take the golden handshake route. I mean, sometimes they just suspend an employee for a very long time with pay. Why just run away from expulsion?
I think it's ethics and morality. We haven't got ethics anymore, and we've got this ostrich mentality that we think if we put our head in the ground, nothing shows, and that's the way to shy away from responsibilities. You know, COFESA picked that up already in 2014. We picked it up that there is a definitely decline in ethics and morality, and therefore we've got a code of good conduct for directors. And the other thing is, everybody wants to be directors, but being a director, there is such a lot of things that you need to do, and you're ultimately responsible. The other thing is that what KPMG's got now is the problem is that, you know, criminally these people can still be, they have not been exonerated. Criminally they can still be charged, but internally that's a different story. You know, like I said, they've been retrenched. Maybe retrenched was the wrong word. Maybe they were given, like you say, golden handshakes, mutual severance packages, but you cannot exonerate you out of the law with that. So it could very well mean that the Hawks or any other of the other people can still go after them.
Now, Nhlamudlomo, the KPMG CEO, was quite adamant that the packages that were given to his top executives were actually severance packages as opposed to golden handshakes. But then some labor law experts say that it is indeed golden handshakes. And even though the income tax may see this in a different light, so which of the two are tied to performance, and do they really provide an incentive to the executive to act in the best interest of the organization?
Absolutely. The top is there. Another problem that KPMG have got now is that, look, the people out there want somebody to blame.
Yeah.
Now they've given retrenchment packages, and they said late on Friday it was instruction from KPMG International. They're just following that instructions. Now that is also wrong, simply where people, international companies that's here, have to be abiding by our laws. They cannot be without our laws, and somebody should have advised them. Now the problem that KPMG is sitting, how are they now going to go down to the lower levels? Because remember, in labour law, there's got to be two pillars. There's procedural fairness and substantive fairness. And the last thing of substantive fairness, it says there should be consistency. So if you get away, or you let go, or you give, whatever you want to call it, retrench. They said retrench to Scopa, let's stick with retrench. If you retrench people, okay, and those are the people that were the ultimate signatories, the people that were signing on the dotted line, you retrench them. How are you going to go and do? Where's the consistency for the lower levels? Because they're definitely going to go for somebody. But I cannot see that they are going to, because those people are just going to claim inconsistency and say the head, nothing happened to them. How can you now come and you want to have a disciplinary internal inquiry with me if there's nobody else? Am I the only one that's to blame? Yeah. So that's going to be a problem for them, and I would like to see how they're going to get out of that one.
Ethically, what does it say about the company?
Well, it says what everybody says. I think there's a lack of ethics there. And, you know, when I was still working for the service CETA, and whenever there was an audit and they say KPMG is coming, simply KPMG is coming. We used to pack it, you know. Now I think we say KPMG is coming, open the popcorn.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing, is that, you know, if this was a judge or anybody in the law profession and did this, there would have been a lot of cases being overturned. People would say, but wait a minute, you know, if this happened, you know, can we trust what's coming out here? Can we trust the audits? So you know, I don't know. It's not the end for them. It's not the end. And I believe, from a labour point of view, they were and are still ill-advised.
What then is the management's duty for companies embroiled in scandals like this? Well, there first have to be an internal investigation. And you see, that is the other problem, that they said that this investigation is going to take years to complete. So, like you said, maybe it's a time factor. So at the end of the day is that They should have suspended, and they should have done a thorough, independent investigation on was the internal, because Rick, we're talking about internal policies now in the labour law. So was the internal policies, was that broken? And then see if charges can be made. That should have been what happened. Indeed. Suspended with pay, investigate, and then lay charges. And then later let the law takes its course. Because you first have to clean your house internally, which did not happen here. And it has happened at a lot of other institutions and companies, as we know of. TJ, great chatting to you this morning.
Thank you
so much
Appreciate it. Thank you
for
your
insights.
Thank you.
That was TJ van der Merwe, a labour law expert at COFESA, helping us to unpack the implications of the raging KPMG debacle.